All right, so greetings once more. Today we'll be looking at custom validation rules in Excel. Of course, I know we've talked about the inbuilt validation rules, but this time around they're looking at the custom. That's the one that uses formulas for us to be able to achieve data validation in Excel. So, what's the purpose of custom validation rules? All right, so using formulas in data validation allows you to create custom rules for more advanced and flexible data control. Why it matters, it enforces complex conditions, gives you full control over data entry, prevents logical errors, not just format errors, and makes Excel behave like a smart system. Think of this as a programming rule in your Excel sheet. All right, so using formulas in data validation, you can do this by going to data validation. Then you now choose custom, you enter your formula and now click OK. And this formula must return true or false. All right, true means valid and false means invalid. All right, so we have example. You can use this to restrict multiples of 5. That you can use the mode function in Excel, maybe to only restrict entries of values of multiples of 5. In Excel we have the mode. The mode returns the remainder. If remainder is equal to 0, it's valid. If not, it's invalid. It also prevents. You can use it to prevent future dates, and you can even combine and or function together to be able to achieve a particular maybe complex condition. All right, so we'll be doing some practical sessions in Excel so that you actually understand how these formulas work. Okay, so for the multiples of 5, all right, so I'm going to quickly grab this table called A1. So here we're going to tell Excel, okay, see, we want to allow only multiples of 5 to be entered in a particular cell. All right, so I'm going to grab this and I'm going to try to drop it here. All right, so we're going to work on this cell, that's cell A2. All right, so I'm going to use the mode function to be able to ensure that only multiples of 5 are only accepted in that particular cell. All right, so let's go to data validation. So we'll see how that actually works. All right, under data, you select data validation in Excel. When you click on data validation, under this allow, you select custom. All right, then under custom, you now say equal to mode. All right, so we know that mode, you open a bracket, you select the cell you want to apply that to. You select this A2. All right, you're going to say going to do multiples of 5. Close the bracket. When is equal to 0, that when the remainder is equal to 0, it means that we're in the right place. All right, so you click OK. All right, so let's see what happens when you try to enter a value that won't give us a multiple of 5. All right, so let me try to enter, let's say 4, and click OK. So we'll get an error say this doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this. Recall that we've talked about the kind of information you want to be displayed on as a message. So you can actually edit this by just trying to also go to input message. You can just put validation as a title. You can say call it impute multiples, impute what will give multiples of 5, multiples of 5. You can also go to error alerts and say invalid. Let's say someone made a wrong entry, invalid entry. You can say value must give multiples of 5. So this is always very important when it comes to data validation, so that users will be able to understand that when they make mistakes, the reason why that error happened, or maybe the input message can also tell them the kind of input that is expected for that particular cell. Okay, so so I can try enter 4 again. So it's going to give an error which is more descriptive, saying value must give multiples of 5. All right, so the multiple of 5 here, if we press 5 here now, we can see that 5 will fly because it gives a multiple of 5. So that's that for this particular data validation that we just worked on. So next we're going to work on how to prevent future dates in Excel. If you want to prevent future dates, we just want the dates that will be entered to be either today or less than today. We can also achieve that using the custom approach in Excel. So I'm going to drop this here, grab that table with Ctrl C and paste with Ctrl V. Now the formula we're going to apply is we want to ensure that the date being entered is less than or equal to today. All right. So to do this, we can just come here under data validation. All right. So we go back to our settings. We select we can select custom. Okay. We can do equal to this particular cell. I want it to be less than or equal to today. All right. Today means the current day. All right. Less than or equal to today. All right. So this is fine. Okay. So if I try to enter tomorrow's date, it's not going to fly. All right. Let's try that and see what happens when I try to enter a date. That's tomorrow's date. Okay. Tomorrow, let's see. I'm trying to enter 30th of June, 2026. Of course, now this looks at tomorrow. It's going to flag it and say that it didn't match. Remember, you can always go to the settings to input the exact message you want to be displayed. But I believe we already know how to do that. All right. So now, if I enter today's date, let me see if I enter a lower date. Let's say if I enter 1st of January, 2026. All right. We can see that this is going to fly because it's lower than today. All right. So that's that for the future date prevention using the custom data validation. All right. So next we're looking at using the AND function. We can use AND function. No, AND means that everything must be true before it returns true. All right. So I'm gonna quickly grab this particular table. I will drop it here. All right. So the task here is for us to allow only values between 0 and 100. All right. So recall, I'll achieve this earlier using the inbuilt, but we can also achieve the same thing also using the custom approach in Excel. All right. So for us to be able to achieve that, I'm just going to go to data validation. When I click data validation, I'll go to custom. So I can use the AND function. So equal to AND. So AND means everything inside the AND function must be true before it gives us true as an output. All right. So equal to, we are saying equal to AND is greater than 0, and we also say AND again must be also less than or equal to 100. All right, let's do greater than or equal to 0. It must be greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 100. So if we enter values that is not greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 100, please flag. Please don't allow this entry. That's basically what we're telling data validation to do for us in Excel. All right, so let's see how that works. So if I try to enter 101 in this cell, let's see what happens. It flags that, all right, because it's above 100. If I enter 100, 100 should fly. If I enter 90, 90 should fly. If I enter -1 shouldn't fly. We should be having an error saying that the value didn't match the validation restrictions defined for this cell. Again, recall, you can always edit the error message to the exact message that you want to see. All right, so that's it for the score. I'm allowing score between 0 to 100. All right, so the next is to use the OR function to say okay, see, you want this cell to accept yes or no. Anything outside yes or no should not be accepted. Okay, to achieve this, I'm also going to grab this table. I'm going to drop that on Excel, and when I drop this, so you want to ensure that it's either yes or no. Anything outside this place should not be accepted. All right, so let's see how that works. All right, so basically I'm going to click on this cell, go to data validation, and I'll go to custom again. When I click on custom, and I have to type in the formulas I want. All right, so the formula is going to be equal to, or means if any of them is true, please return true. All right, so equal to, or if this Excel D2 is equal to, if cell D2 is equal to yes, all right, return true, or if cell D2 again is equal to no. All right, please return true. That's basically the instruction we're given Excel. So I'm gonna just click OK. All right, so if I enter yes here, yes flies. If I enter no, no flies. But then if I try to enter nope, for example, it's not gonna fly because it's not part of the accepted values. All right, if I enter let's say Neto here, it's not gonna fly because it's not part of what you want to be entered on that particular cell. All right, so quickly again, we'll be looking at some other things. Let's also try to look at non-negative salary. All right, so we want to ensure that a salary paid to someone is always greater than or equal to 0. So let's grab this salary table. let's drop that on Excel. So the instruction here is for us to ensure that whatever is entered in cell in column E, that's E2, is greater than or equal to 0. All right, so anything less than 0 shouldn't be accepted. So the same thing, we go to data validation. Under the allowed validation, we'll go to custom. Then we'll now say that what we want here is equal to, if this E2 is greater than or equal to 0. So if it's not greater than or equal to 0, please don't accept. So that's the instruction we're trying to give Excel, and Excel is going to just execute that. So if I press 0, 0 flies. If I enter 10, 6, 6 flies. But if I enter anything negative, let's say -1, it's going to give us an error saying that this doesn't match the validation rule that was given for this particular cell. All right, so I think that's it. We also have some real life scenarios that you can practice. Maybe you can also try to grab this and paste, then apply validation for age, score, salary, and department based on what you've learned so far. I think this is really amazing. Data validation really goes a long way in helping us to ensure that inputs that we have in Excel is actually the expected entries that we want to have. All right, so one of the learning tips to take home from this session is that always test your formulas before applying them. Remember, true means allowed, false means rejected. Use AND for multiple strict conditions, and OR for flexible options. We also have combined with drop downs, conditional formatting, key formula, simple and readable. All right, so learn outcome after completing this session. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to use custom formulas in data validation, enforce complex input rules, combine logic using and OR in Excel, prevent logical error in data sets, build intelligent rule-driven Excel systems independently. All right, thank you, and we hope to see you soon. Cheers.